Hello, welcome. This is Mr. Archford Maringa from AT Maringa Tech. Today, I'm going to show you how to turn on our three-phase reverse osmosis power plant. This machine is used for water purification, which is going to be used in doing dialysis on hemodialysis machines for patients normally with renal failure. So, the first thing before you turn on the machine, you should do some basic checks. The first check is to make sure that water supply to the main buffer tank is there and present. If not, at least ensure that the buffer tank is filled to some level to make sure that the machine can work without shortage of water. Otherwise, besides that, there are no further checks. Besides that, you have to make sure that the environment is safe for you to operate. You have a safe dry environment, and you have done all the checklists which are listed in the manufacturer's manual. Anyway, come with me in this journey as I show you how this machine works. So this picture generally shows you how the process goes, starting with the raw water, going into the raw water tank, going into the booster pump, into the quartz sand filter, active carbon filter, softener, resin, micron filter. We have another booster pump, and then we do our reverse osmosis. And then for other machines, it might include an ultraviolet sterilizer, and to a buffer tank in some systems which store the RO water, and then out goes the RO water, which usually has a conductivity which is less than 14 microsiemens per square centimeter. So now I'm going to take you through the actual components of this system. Starting at the output, we have the cancel water, which normally you can call the raw water. That's water from your local supplier. In this case, that will be BCC. And then going up there, you have the buffer tank, which stores water just in case our main local supplier runs out of water. From the main tank, the water is generally fed into your pump. That is the pump, right? From the pump, the water gets into this reserve, which is more like a pressure tank to make sure the pump is not working too hard. Then you can come with me to the front so that you see your sand filter. That's your first stage, and then there is your carbon filter. That's your second stage, and then you have your softener, right? That's the third stage. And then from there, the water goes into the RO machine. I'm not going to get into details of the electronics of this system, but it basically looks like how you see in the video. Right. So, coming in the morning, you have to make sure that your raw water input is open before you can start the machine. And you start the machine using this human machine interface, which is touchscreen. And this is the button you use to start the machine. These indicators basically are for showing you what's happening in the process, right? We are gonna go over some of that in my next videos. But the main components of this RO system is the first stage RO membrane and the other second grade RO membrane for better purity. So like I said in my introduction, we have to check the main inlet which runs into the buffer tank. If it's open, that's the valve. Along or parallel means it's open. When it's perpendicular to this pipe means it's closed. This is open, which is good. And then the outlet to the tank is open, which is good again. Then we have to check other connections to this thing. This pump is automatic, you don't have to worry. That is open. I think for the valves, that's the most important thing. The next thing to do on the machine is to make sure that you switch it on at the wall. Once you do that, you are presented with this screen. We are now going to run the machine, right? We are sure our environment is safe and clean, right? Turning on the machine is as easy as, I don't know how easily I can put it, but it's as easy as just breathing or breathing out, right? We're going to press the produce button to make sure we start producing. The machine basically acknowledges by turning on some control valve. What is going to happen is the pump will start filling in water. As we can see on this screen, it's water being filled into the balancer being this component here. Once the balancer reaches about 50% capacity, the machine will turn on the first stage RO booster pump. After that is done, after a sufficient pressure is reached, the machine is going to turn on the second grade booster pump. As you can see right now, there is zero pressure on the first stage pump. Definitely there is zero pressure on the second grade analog gauge for the second stage pump. Bear with me as we wait for the machine to pressurize. Let's monitor what happens to the indicators. Right, we can read the raw water conductivity as 178 and the first level output water conductivity from last time. We can see some flow on the machine. You can see it is running. Welcome once again. My name is Ashford, and I thought maybe I should just show you how the main dialysis unit looks like. Over there you have a dialysis chair and a hemodialysis machine connected to our RO system at the back. We have a patient monitor for monitoring patient vitals. Next to that machine, that's a similar setup. A hemodialysis machine, a dialysis chair, and a patient monitor with the addition of an air conditioner because the room is quite hot. This ward in which I'm standing can take up to 4 patients. It's quite some process because it takes about 4 hours for a patient to get their therapy. Yes, conditions and length might vary depending on the patient's condition, but for most patients it's going to be 4 hours sitting here while being monitored, at the same time while carrying out the hemodialysis machine using this particular machine. For the purpose of intellectual property, I'm not allowed to say the name of the company for this particular device. Let me take you closer so that you may look at the machine in detail. You can see by looking at the machine, it's quite simple and sophisticated at the same time. These two over here are blood pumps. They are used to pump the blood from the patient and back to the patient, basically pumping from the patient, making sure the blood has sufficient pressure to get over this section and then go back to the patient after filtration is done. And over here you've got the dialysate pickup tubes, right? And then over here you've got what we call dialysate supply tubes for the dialyzer, which normally is there. This is the main unit screen from which you see all the parameters for the dialysis process. Over here you have two ports, one for the arterial pressure sampling, another for the venous pressure sampling. You have an indicator on top of the machine, green meaning good, and amber meaning please alert, and then red meaning danger, please attend to. Right by the side of this setup, you have a NESCO system, which is used to call the nurse or clinical personnel whenever the patient is experiencing some problem. So this is basically the setup, and it's quite simple.